So this coming weekend, Canelo Alvarez against Terence Bud Crawford. Are we excited for this fight? Well, of course we bloody are. It's going to be an amazing spectacle, amazing fight. Can't wait for it. In a previous video and podcast, I talked about my disappointment of the fight cards that we've got, or we're getting, or we're not getting enough of these big banger fight cards that I thought we could be getting more as the Riyadh season would be involved in Turkey al-Sheikh. And this main event is a fight that we probably never would have got. It's only the money, the influence of Saudi Arabia that's forcing Canelo to take this fight and to make it worth its while to get these two together. Pound for pound, great. Pound for pound, great. Pound for pound, number one in their time. Questionably, you could say that Canelo is probably, well, not right up there. He's certainly still top 10, but he's undisputed, right? And he's gone up from middleweight, super middleweight. He's even gone up to light heavyweight. He's had success there. This will be his 67th, 68th fight. Crawford's in his 40th fight or something like that. They're both mid-30s. Crawford a little bit older, but still, this is two of the elite, the elite of the elite, going head to head. And the finances, the money has made this come forward. But I still stand by what I said in previous video podcasts about the undercard, even on this fight, isn't that great. Now, it's great in boxing terms. It's great, if you're a boxing purist or, you're really into your boxing, your names. But in terms of crossover, in terms of gathering, the mass appeal, it doesn't do that. So this is the first time that the UFC president Dana White is getting involved in boxing, with going into partnership with TKO, the business, and also with Saudi Arabia as well, the Riyadh season fight card with Turkey al-Sheikh. So this is the first time where you see, well, okay, is there really going to be much of a difference? And you kind of think, well, there isn't much of a difference really from a standard boxing card. There are 10 or 12 fights, 10 fights or whatever it is on the undercard. There's some interesting fights, but again, crossover fights grab the public attention? I don't think so. So it's all on the Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford fight. This is going to be an amazing fight. Who do you think is going to win? And in a previous video, I said, right, okay, I can't see anybody but Canelo Alvarez winning this fight. And I give you my reasons for it, and I still stand by it. But I'm going to give all the praise to Terence Crawford, who's come up through the weight divisions. And, he came up to beat Errol Spence so convincingly. It was a masterclass of a performance. And then he went up again to Madrimov. And I thought it wasn't a great fight. And I think it was a great boxing fight, but it wasn't a great spectacle, I didn't think. A great performance, but his performance over Madrimov wasn't as dominant. Certainly was dominant because he won by points, right? It wasn't as dominant as he's been in his previous encounters. This is the first time he hadn't got an opponent out of there before the end of the fight. He had to go to the points, and he won on points, yeah, but I had it a little bit closer than they actually gave it, I've got to say. I just thought, he didn't look that great in comparison to the way he'd been before. He still looked great. Again, we're talking about elites here. We're talking about, nitpicking of where you can see any differences. So this has always been my point. You're asking Terence Bud Crawford, who's, later on in years now, to come up in weight, whilst he, side by side, they look the same size, the same height, the same size. He's obviously put on the weight. My question is he ready for that weight? Can he be effective at that weight? Whereas Canelo Alvarez has been in that weight for so long, he's the master in that weight. He's the undisputed in that weight class. And he's also gone up even higher, a heavier weight class, to light heavy, and he's had success there. The only failure he had was against Bivol. They had a close scoring round, but really it wasn't that close at all. Bivol really just totally dominated that fight. The only other defeat he's had was when he was a lot younger, 22, 23, against Mayweather. This is Canelo, of course. So, he's had an amazing career, 67 fights, 68 fights, whatever it'll be. All these wins, only a couple of losses, gone up and down the weight divisions and heavyweight divisions. And he's had he's been pounded over those years. Now you got to ask yourself, well, has he still got the punch resistance? The criticism of Canelo Alvarez is that whilst he's always been active, he's always done a couple of fights a year, right? He does a fight in May and usually does a fight in September, something like that. He usually does one around about the Cinco de Mayo and usually does one around about this time, which is going to be the Mexican National Independence Day, right? So his support in the stadium is going to be immense. The support around the fight for Canelo is pretty much one-sided. It's all going to be for him. But has he still got it? His last few fights, they were almost about hand-picked opponents. There were criticisms whether he was really picking the dangerous opponents. There's big criticisms the way he didn't fight David Benavidez. So there's questions about Canelo Alvarez. And so there's questions about, well, how's this fight going to go? Is Terence Crawford just going to box him on the outside? Is he going to get in close? Is he going to vary it up? Is he going to try and switch it up from southpaw to orthodox and just really dumbfound Canelo? Can Canelo get to him? Can he close the difference? He isn't the greatest mover himself. He's slowed down. But one thing that Canelo has that Crawford is unproven at this weight division is punch power, body shots, head shots. And also his punch resistance is proven, whereas Crawford's isn't. So if I'm not a better man, but if I am a better man, then I'm going to say, well, it's everything stacked in favour of Canelo Alvarez against Terence Crawford. Can Crawford win? Yes. If he boxes smart, he boxes on the outside, boxes clever, and point score him, then he can point score his way to victory. But it's got to be by a wide margin, I would have thought, to overcome the crowd and overcome the judges. It's got to be convincing. I don't think he's got the punch power to knock out Canelo at all. I think he's definitely got the capability and the ability and the ring IQ to outbox Canelo and get to a points victory. I'm just not sure he'll be able to do it enough. Whereas Canelo, I think he can withstand it. He can score enough to go to a decision. And if he really prepares for himself, because both of these fighters really prepared for this. Terence Crawford has come out. Great body, he's filled into the weight, he looks the part. Canelo Alvarez has been doing some serious sparring for this. He knows this is a live opponent. This isn't one of the hand-picked opponents, in inverted commas, for the last few that he's gone the distance with and he's carried them a lot. No, this is somebody who really knows there's a real danger there, and he's definitely prepared for this as well. But Canelo can score him, can point him, but he also can get in close, and those body shots are going to really hurt Crawford. This is my opinion. This is what I envisage. And he's going to headhunt him as well. Now, bearing in mind, Canelo fights the last few years, body shots, and also lots of arm shots. Well, he attacks the arms. It's the body shots, and then there's head, overhead right hand, right hands, onto the temple as well. So that's where he's going to be. This is where I see him attacking Crawford. The body, definitely into the body, definitely onto the arms, and definitely into the head side of the head. And you kind of think, well, that's standard stuff. But Canelo has made a point of it over the last few fights to really do this time and time again, to wear his fighters down. And I think that in the difference here is the punch resistance of Crawford. Can he withstand that? Because I think, no doubt, he's going to probably win those first few rounds from Canelo. I think he's going to dance around him a little bit, and he's going to outbox Canelo. But Canelo's going to grind him down, and I'm going to go for a very, very bold prediction here on this one. I don't think it's going to go the distance. I don't think Canelo can afford to let this go the distance, and I think he knows that, because if it does, I think he knows that this is not going to be a close fight, boxing terms. Crawford could easily quite outmaneuver him and outbox him. And he probably thinks that actually he won't be able to outbox him, but he will definitely be able to outpower him in these exchanges. So I'm going to go for a bold prediction. This could be wrong. I think it's either going to go the distance in Crawford's favour, and he's going to have to win by a convincing margin, but I don't see that happening. I think this is going to be a TKO or a KO For Canelo, I know people are thinking, what are you talking about? But I can see it around the 6th or 7th round. Certainly within the distance, I can see it. I think he's just going to stop him. We are talking about the finest of fine margins here between these two boxers. They are the absolute elite. This is the fight of the year. It could be the fight of the decade if it holds up its end of the bargain. Remember, Turki Al-Sheikh has said, don't want to see Tom and Jerry fights on these. We're paying a lot of money for this. We want to see bangers. We want to see blood. We want to see proper boxing. We want to show the world what proper boxing is. And I don't think they've got an undercard to support that. They've got an undercard that delivers boxing, but they haven't got an undercard that really grabs the imagination of everyday sports fans or everyday boxing fans, or just even, hardcore boxing fans. But what they've what they've given you or given us in the main event is something that's hardcore, something that, we really want to see. And it's like a dream fight. This could be the fight of the decade, as I say, if these two get it on. And I still think that Canelo is going to be the stronger out of the two, and it's going to come down to punch resistance at this weight. And I just don't see Crawford being able to do it. Yeah, I'm sure. Look, they're both prepared for this. They both had sparring, and I'm sure Crawford's has lots of sparring in this weight division. But when you're picking sparring, you're trying to pick sparring partners that are similar to your opponent, right? If you're going to fight a southpaw, you're going to want to have southpaw opponents, right? If you want you're going to fight movers, you want to fight somebody who's a mover. If you want somebody who just stands there and exchanges blows, you're going to fight somebody like that or spar with somebody like that. So it's easier for Canelo to find fighters like that than it is for Crawford to find sparring partners of that weight division, or probably even heavier, that are even in the same league as EC. That's the difference, right? You're going to be sparring, both of the fighters are going to be sparring with fighters who are that weight division, have got similar kind of attributes, but they're not going to be anywhere near the levels of Canelo and Crawford themselves. So, Crawford is going to have a bit of a rude awakening, I feel. But again, I'm nitpicking here the finest margins. And when I say a rude awakening, I just feel that it's going to be one step too far for him in terms of, jumping up the weight classes. I think it was really telling for me against Madrimov where his limit could be. I just don't think, that world elite level, if he wasn't fighting Canelo, if he was fighting somebody else in super middleweight, then I think, okay, he's got a really good chance here. But you're now dealing with an undisputed, the elite of the elite, Canelo. Even though there's criticism coming down the weight divisions, all that kind of stuff. You still got to favour Canelo Alvarez. Well, I have anyway. Not that I favour him in terms of boxing sense. Not that I favour him over Crawford in any. I'm not a fanboy of either fighters in that sense. I just feel Canelo's going to do him in about 6th or 7th round. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, keep on watching. If I've made any sense, let us know. Give us your opinions. If you think Crawford is definitely going to win, if you think Canelo's going to win, if you think it's going to go the distance, which it possibly could be, do you think that Canelo can lose on points? Because there's been accusations saying, well, it's Texas and Mexican weekend and all that sort of stuff. There's no way the judges are going to go against him. There'd probably be a riot if they did. So, for many different reasons, I think Canelo can't really afford to go chance it to go to points, because even if he doesn't get Crawford out of there, he might run the risk of not being outpointed, and then there'll be a lot of controversy over the fight as well, and then there'll be lots of people would say, well, even if Canelo won, even though the results say that Canelo won, he didn't really win, Crawford won. But that would set up brilliantly for a rematch, wouldn't it? And probably that's where it would go anyway. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I mean, and personally, I would love to see a much better fight, much tighter fight, much more of a challenge for Canelo Alvarez. And we all know that'd be David Benavidez, who's up at light heavy now. So, whether that would ever happen, I doubt it. I doubt that would ever happen. But, Turki Al-Sheikh and the Saudis have said that they want that fight as well. So you never know. Let's see what happens. Right, if you like what I do here, say keep on watching the videos, and I catch you again. Another video coming very soon. But for me, Canelo Alvarez in 6 or 7 rounds, TKO or KO. Catch you again. Bye now.